In 5, 4, 3, 2.
What's up, guys? What's going on, Berks? Are we gonna do a better intro than we did last week, or are we just gonna goof off this week?
Hey guys,
One
thanks for
day
joining
we'll
us.
we'll get it right. No, I just we got so much love from last week, so I wanna say thank you everybody who watched the show last week. It was our first podcast. I think this is really us spreading our wings a little bit. We talked a lot about Twitch last week and about streaming and content creation and all that stuff. And one of the hardest things to do is when you're a single game streamer, like both of us are, is to branch out and do new things. And I think we got a lot of support. People really enjoyed it. And I even noticed like other creators in our space like asking questions about the topics that we talked about on the podcast and stuff. And it was like really cool that I think people really engaged with it and got along with it. So thank you very much for joining us on this like new journey that we're going on. And I know Berks is enjoying it. I'm really
Oh
enjoying
yeah.
it as well, and I can't wait to see where we go. But
Yeah.
today is going to be a little bit of a different topic than last week. It's are games getting worse,
Are
or
they?
are they? I don't think so. I
You
don't
don't think
so.
so?
No,
I
not
have
at all.
I have a bit of a different opinion on this.
Okay.
But let's dive into it.
Yeah. Go ahead. Why do you? I don't think they're getting worse. I don't think they're necessarily meeting expectations of like what's it, Moore's law, right? Like with PCs, like they could just
uh
infinitely get more powerful. Like games haven't gotten better in at the pace at which I would have expected them to, but
you don't think
I don't think
that
they're worse.
okay. So I think that games have obviously we're diving straight into it. I had like prelude questions to this and everything. But I
Well,
think
we could get into that stuff.
oh, absolutely. And we'll loop back to it. But I think games have here's my synopsis for this is I think games have gotten exponentially better on the topic of graphics, right? And
Yeah.
I think it's a selling point to too many video games these days.
And
I think
scale.
and scale.
That's the other
true.
thing.
Open
The
world.
scale. Open world. Exactly.
Coming this summer, an open world graphical anomaly.
Where
Too
you
open
don't
world.
do anything.
Star
Yeah.
Citizen.
You can be anyone. You can do anything while simultaneously not being able to do anything. Right?
Buy
So
your
it's-
tickets to our convention now for 300. No, this isn't supposed to be a Star Citizen episode.
But we're talking about games.
Absolutely.
And you can't talk about games without dumping on Star Citizen a little bit, because it is still
It's our game.
It's our game, but it's also still probably one of the most made fun of games in the like gaming
the
space,
space, yeah.
r/slash gaming. It's tough. I mean, the only person who's ever succeeded with the Star Citizen thread in r/slash gaming that I've ever seen was Zero State. Did you ever see that thread?
I saw the clip. I saw the
Yeah.
thread. I saw the clip, and
Like,
I've seen
it was
another
amazing.
one.
Have you?
Tarada.
Okay.
Tarada had one.
Oh,
And
yep.
he was it was really funny too because it about sums up Star Citizen. He was in a Scorpius when it just came out, and he was fighting. If you guys are watching, you don't know what Star Citizen is. The Scorpius is like the X-wing of Star Citizen, and he's fighting the Bengal, which is like the biggest ship in the game by far. It's 1,000 meters long, huge. And fighting, it's
a Star Destroyer,
right?
and for Star Wars terms.
He's fighting it. Or pretending to, because you can't actually fight it because it doesn't actually take damage. And people in the comments are like, this game's a scam. It doesn't actually have any gameplay. And everyone's defending Star Citizen. It was wild. People are like, well, then what's this clip? This looks amazing. Blah blah blah. And they don't realize that that he's basically role playing, fighting the Bengal. I mean, it looked awesome. No, I mean, I love Tarada, but it looks incredible. But yeah, that's the only other time I've seen our gaming defend Star Citizen. It was pretty crazy.
Rare. It's rare. Yeah, I don't know. I think you're right about like graphics, but it's a lot of where they haven't innovated is like, let's take like your regular like RPG story game.
Right.
Oh, it's main quest, side quest. Side quest is always, oh, I lost my thing. Can you go find it? Oh, these bad guys are taking over this area. Can you go kill them?
Yep.
Right? Like, I don't think it's innovated that much on that front, but there are some games that really have, and I think we'll dive into them. I've played some pretty amazing games over the last few years, but they're
Hmm.
they're like little blips. Like maybe the AAA games have not really done what maybe people would have expected them to, and that's why you're starting to see these like, is gaming dead or
Is
whatever
gaming dead? I
feelings.
definitely don't think gaming is dead. Right. That's
Mhm.
a completely different, I think, front. Right.
Yeah.
Like I wouldn't say Hollywood is dead. Right. But
No.
is it getting worse? I would say so. Like it seems
They
like
feel
there's
like less creative,
a
right?
lot
Like they're
more
making the same
remakes,
stuff.
safer options, a lot more sequels, prequels, spin-offs, and you've seen that dive into a lot of gaming these days, right? Resident Evil remake, Final Fantasy remake, this remake, that remake, a sequel of
Mhm.
this, a sequel of that. Very safe options because they feel like that makes, and to exactly my point, these remakes are typically, remastered, but they're typically just updated graphics, right? So they're
Yeah.
selling the exact same product, not innovated at all, just new graphics, and that sells, right?
Sure.
I can't tell you how many times I played an amazing game, and people hate on it because they're like, oh, but the graphics are just okay. Sea of Thieves, No Man's Sky, Battlebin is a recent one, and people really hate on it because the graphics are an immediate put off for them. And I think there's just two different types of people, maybe. People who think with their it has to be pretty for me to enjoy it, and some people who could literally care less. I don't know. Would you consider yourself in category A or B? A little bit of both.
Maybe a little bit of both,
Hmm.
but like, I don't know if you want to make a comparison, is there's all different types of art and people like different
True.
types of art, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, this our this room that we're in right now isn't a hyper realistic room, right? But somebody might prefer that we were in a, New York perfect skyline or whatever, because that's
Mike, hold
their
on a
art
second.
preference.
Are you saying we're not in the same room right now?
No, we're absolutely in this. I can reach out and
Just
just kidding.
touch my.
I could
Just
touch you.
just give me a. That almost looked too real, bro.
Yeah.
I was freaking myself out with the the graphics thing. No, I'm joking.
Yeah. It's getting crazy. Like that one, oh my god, the one game though that it looked really real
Oh
that
my
people didn't
god.
know if it was a game or not.
You're talking
I still
about.
don't think it was a game. I'm so confused.
No, I think that if you look really closely, like full screen, 4K or 2.5K, whatever, you could kind of see where the seams kind of fall apart. What was the name of that game?
I can't remember.
It was like called like unsomething, or I forget, but people are gonna know what I'm talking about. It's the body cam footage where it looks like almost too real. Unrecord.
Yeah.
And it almost looks too real. And people were, this huge argument was starting of, is this too good of graphics? Are people going to be able to distinguish the lines between reality and non-reality? And I don't know. Like, my question to those people is, have they ever seen a movie before? Like,
Yeah, but I think like what's different between I don't know how I watch movies is like I'm a fly on the wall, but
right.
when I'm playing a game, I'm games that I enjoy sort of are I get immersed in,
Hmm.
and I think that almost blurs reality too much that it weirded me out. It actually weirded me out, and I don't think I can play a
Interesting.
game. Also because it was violent, right? If the game
Hmm.
wasn't violent, would I, if it
Interesting.
was like butterflies and
Like a
like
farming
bubbles
sim?
float, yeah, like would it be less
Jarring.
problematic? I don't know. Yeah,
Yeah.
or jarring. Like it just really made me
Interesting.
uncomfortable to
Well,
watch.
I guess like I've always thought to myself, gaming is heading there, right? Eventually, we're going to get to the point where we're not going to be able to distinguish between real life and what the virtual world is. Kind of like
Black
Um,
Mirror.
Black Mirror or Ready Player One, but I guess maybe you're thinking of it in a darker way,
Dystopian.
you know?
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm 100% on that train. I know that this isn't even really what we're supposed to be talking about, but like I'm 100%. If they could put like a chip in my brain and I could like hit a button on my head and like lay back and like be in my video game, I'd love that. Like I'd sign up for that in a millisecond.
It's weird because that's how I play games, but I almost think that would take it too far for me.
No,
But
I respect
yeah,
that.
but that's exactly how I play games. Is I shut my door and I want to be in the world that I'm in, and
Yeah.
like don't talk to me. Like I have my video game time, right? And that's where whatever game I'm playing, I want to immerse myself in as much as possible. Which, yeah, I think that's why I play Star Citizen a lot more. I think it's because it does give that aspect of
Right.
it. But should we talk about like where we came from in gaming? Like what games we would regularly play and
Sure. Well, I mean,
like
I think we would give
what was your
maybe
first game, right?
yeah, first game. What are your top 3 games?
Okay.
I think for me, my first game ever was that I distinctly remember playing. Of course, when I played games since my, inception. Like whenever I was a tiny little kid, I was playing games because my household, we kind of just grew up with consoles.
What was your first?
I can't
console?
remember. Oh, my first console? Probably like a Dreamcast or something. But the first game I remember vividly playing, Spyro. And I loved that game.
Dude, you're so much younger than me.
I love Spyro. Hey, listen, that's neither here nor there. Okay,
You're making me feel old right now. the old people listening will know what I'm talking about. It was a game called Pitfall.
I don't know it.
So it was like 8-bit graphics, but like 2 colors, and there was like ropes, and you had to time like jumping on the rope over a fire or over a pit or over an alligator, and it was like I think it was
I
on
actually
Atari.
think I've seen gameplay of this.
Yeah,
I take it back.
It was on Atari or ColecoVision or whatever. Like I can't remember. I know the first console I ever touched was a ColecoVision, but I don't remember ever playing it. I do remember playing Atari. Yeah, that was the first game I ever played, and then it was Nintendo. So like Mario, Blades of Steel,
Of course.
there was
Smash.
some Snake game. I never played. Smash
You never
Brothers or
played
anything.
Super Mario? Oh my! Not Super Mario Brothers. Super Smash Brothers. Oh
No,
my lord!
So where you were coming into gaming, I was taken away from it. So my little brother's 6 years younger than me, and when I was playing Nintendo, he like got hyper obsessed with it, and he wouldn't like leave. So he wouldn't leave to like come eat. He would cry like crazy and like freak out. So my parents were like, we had to take the consoles away. So we still had a computer, and because I was like responsibly gaming and he wasn't, I was able to play on computer. So I played like Commander Keen and these like Oregon Trail, and that's how I ended up playing like Wing Commander and some of these games that brought me into the place that I am today. Yeah, but because of that, my next console, I think getting into high school. It was like PlayStation 1 or 2. So I missed like these glory days of like Super Nintendo, Sega, Dreamcast, like all these sick games, right? Like Nintendo 64, GoldenEye. Like I had to go to my friend's house to play those games. I didn't have them at home. It sucked, man. So I played a lot of computer games that a lot of people never played that I grew up with because they were all playing consoles. But so I got some cool stuff, but they got the like where gaming was innovating and being like really cool,
Yeah. No, and I totally feel you. I did get to play those games. It sucks to suck, but I some of those games were games I played at friends' house. I remember playing all sorts of games, man, growing up. But I actually did take a break from gaming as well, and it was whenever I entered like my more religious phase, and basically everyone in my life at that point had convinced me, if you like games, then you're immature and you're not a grown up. And So I was just like, oh, absolutely. I'm, getting rid of my games and I'm never playing again and blah, blah, blah. And it wasn't really until I was in my mid 20s again that I rediscovered my love for gaming. That was with PUBG, actually.
Yeah,
I
that was
remember
incredible.
it was a literal amazing time in gaming. In
Yep.
Twitch, in gaming, in YouTube, it just felt like that was like the golden period, the golden era for content creation, for streaming, for FPS
Playing with
battle
your
royales,
friends again.
playing with your friends. Because in my opinion, if a game comes out in the future where you can focus on getting together with your friends and like achieving goals or like playing co-op, those are the games that are worth like holding on to and really diving into.
Yeah.
You get these pockets of it, right? Like we had it with New World a little bit, even though we were like playing against each other at the
Yeah.
time. And you have it with Starship Troopers is a great game that's come out lately that is in that same vein. But it wasn't until I hit PUBG in that time in my life, that's whenever I built my first computer ever. I was a MacBook user up until then, and I built my first gaming computer ever for the purpose of playing PUBG. And I'd convinced myself, I was like, oh, I'll be better for like video editing because I was working in film at the time. But really, I just wanted to play PUBG. And I was literally going over to my brother's house every day, like on my lunch breaks, to like play PUBG on his computer because I had no PC at the time. And he was like, dude, you just need to build your own. So, I got the Threadripper and I got the, 2080 Ti and all these things that I thought was going to like, be good for video editing. And really, I just wanted to like game. But I'm so glad I dove back into it, honestly.
Yeah, I had a moment like that too. I have a funny story first from the console days, and I don't wanna lose it because it's like
Okay.
one of the funniest things that has ever happened in my life. So right across the street was my friend Dean, and he was a year older than me, and he had a PlayStation. And every day in the summer, we would go ride our bikes outside for a while, like goof off, do whatever, and then we would come back to his house and play Tekken. All right.
Okay.
And one day we go back and his little brother, who's my brother's age, is like standing at the door, like looking guilty, right?
Oh
And I
no.
don't know, I don't know what happened. How does something like this happen? I have no idea. But he goes, I did not break Tekken. It is not in the garbage. And you and we're like, what? And we go and look in the garbage, and it's the Tekken CD just smashed into a million
No.
pieces. And we were like, oh my God, no, what are we gonna do? We were so pissed. But like I I did not
What's
break Tekken. It is not in the garbage. Like what?
what's
It
what's the
was so funny.
Tekken equivalent to fatality?
Oh, I don't even remember, to be honest, but he killed it for sure. Oh my God.
KO.
I'll never
I don't know.
forget that moment. It was one of the funniest things ever because I didn't care. It wasn't mine, but
Dude,
it was just funny to watch him.
that
Just,
is tragic. That is
yeah.
tragic. Man,
You're not gonna get away with it if you tell us where it is and what you did.
I had so
But
many moments like that growing up because I'm one of five in terms of
yeah,
like my blood siblings. I have some step siblings as well, but I'm one of five. And so we all shared and we're not all getting our own consoles. And
no.
so we shared consoles growing up. And so I had so many moments where it's like, oh, it's my turn, or like, oh, this, you broke the controller. Oh, that, the left thumbstick doesn't work anymore because of you, blah, blah, blah. Man, I can only imagine, coming home and like Skyrim snapped in half or something. But somehow we made it through. Somehow.
Yeah, my
Yeah.
my mom is one of five as well, and yeah, like the sharing of Barbies and all that stuff when she was a kid too. I'm sure it was really hard, but
Yeah.
I also had a pretty good hiatus. Not even, I guess, a hiatus from like non-sports games.
Hmm.
Maybe I don't know. Like I I got into like heavily playing sports. So I was pretty bad actually growing up. Like I remember being like the worst player on the baseball team, not making the travel teams or whatever. And then I ended up being the only one from my class to play in college. So it was something that I like start really wanted to do well and worked really hard on once I was like in high school and had good coaches and everything and all that. So I stopped gaming
Yeah.
altogether and I played through college. And then once I was cut from my team in college because I didn't know I needed these glasses, I batted 100. It was terrible.
Wow.
Yeah, that's when I was like, "Ooh, I need something to do with my time now. I'm getting bored." And I went back to like the MMO that I played in high school a little bit, which was Ultima Online. I'm
I've heard
sure
really good things.
my chat always makes fun of me for it, but it was just like
Really?
one of yeah, because I always talk about it because I always go back
Oh,
to it
okay.
as like
I always hear really good things about Ultima. Like
I mean it
I've
was
never played it.
there was definitely bad things and there was good things. It was the first MMO. So, all the edge cases that, are people are figuring out now with games like they didn't know any of them back then. Like you could take for like a carpenter, like the most non-PvP skill that you can have could make furniture, let's say, right? But you could
Mm.
take that furniture and just like box a player in and just they can't move or do anything. Like you can't kill them, but they can't leave.
That's
And they are
awesome.
stuck there forever.
We need that.
Right?
That's gameplay.
You
The
know,
the first
Star
grief.
Citizen Jail. They had jail in Ultima, not for being like a criminal or in the game, but if you ever did anything where like the GMs or the mods had to talk to you, and like maybe like curse too much in
Mm.
the chat or whatever, they would throw you in jail for 24 hours, and like that's where your
Wow.
account stayed, and there was no escaping or anything. You were there. So like when you were really punished, you were there,
24
but
hours of gameplay or 24 hours of real time?
real time.
Okay. That's a little
Yeah, so you
better.
can log in and your character would be in jail, and you just be like,
Wow.
what the hell do I do now?
They probably made
But
that out of necessity since they couldn't give, GMs the authority to ban people, I bet, is what they were struggling with back then. So they probably made that as a way to let them punish players without, removing them from the game. But now they
yeah,
just ban you, right? Like now they just have
yeah, they
mega
don't
power.
care. I guess gaming is so big, and the thing is like it was a subscription model too, right? So you don't want to
There you
like
go.
lose that subscription. You're trying to I guess rehabilitate them, right? But so it's just it was such a crazy time because it was a full loot game. I came in at this weird time where they were like trying to figure out what to do. So they just made two copies of the same world and said, if you go through this magical gate, you go to the one where you can't be killed and it's full like PvE, can't PvP at all. And then there's one that's full PvP. What happened? Obviously, when they split the two worlds, nobody went to the PvP world anymore. And until I came, it took all this time for me to go all the way through college and come back to the game for them to make these dungeons in the PvP world would like how WoW goes from um like they kept upping the level cap each expansion.
Yeah.
So this game did it in a way where you would go to a dungeon and kill a monster like a waves of enemies and then a boss. And then if you did enough damage on the boss, you would get one of 5 skill scrolls that would drop and they would raise your skill cap. So you had to like get lucky to get the skill that you wanted,
Mm.
and you only could go to the full loot PvP area to get that thing. It was like the most important thing for you in the game was to get this thing, and you had to risk it for the biscuit. So it was insane when it first came out. There was waves of blues or Care Bears, right? Like you've heard that term before, right? And then waves of reds and PKers that would come in, player killers, and it would just be these battles between people. It was
Oh yeah.
crazy. So like that's sort of where my mentality comes from is those days is I loved the the full loot PvP aspect. Like I remember the first time I was a thief and I went to go steal one of these scrolls from somebody. The moment, like, because when you're a thief, you're invisible. But if they brush into you, they'll get a little message in the chat box saying, I bumped into something. And they'll know that somebody invisible is there, but they have to notice it. And I just sat there and they never brushed into me. And I managed to get right next to them as they killed the boss. And it dropped like the best scroll possible. And my heart was pounding. I yoinked it and nobody ever knew what happened. It was probably in his bag for such a short period of time. He never knew he had it. It was sick. And like I have not had too many heart pounding moments in
Wow.
games like that. So like are games getting worse? Ooh, are games giving me that feeling anymore? And I
I
would say
mean,
no.
yeah, I will say that's like, I mean, dude, you were a pirate before any of us. I'm impressed, Mike. I didn't know.
Oh yeah,
You pioneered
that
it.
stuff.
That honestly,
No.
that because the funny thing is like, if you ask people in a game like that, if that's legit gameplay, I bet you a lot of people would probably say the same thing. You get the same reaction you get in Star Citizen, which is, oh, that's griefing. That's not legit gameplay. You didn't earn it. Blah blah blah.
I don't think so, dude.
Really? In Ultima, it's
No.
a different environment.
No, in just every other gaming community, I just like there's something. I seriously think there's something wrong with the Star Citizen community. Like, I'm not kidding. Like when it comes to that specific subject, it's like they've never played any other games before.
I tell everyone that we needed,
like
everyone who calls someone a griefer in Star Citizen needs to go get dropped in Rust for a week, and then they're gonna see.
Seriously,
they would see.
It's like it would be like complaining that when somebody killed you in a battle royale and took your gun. Like it just makes no sense.
I'm just questioning, bro.
Yeah, it's just weird, But I think PUBG is another one that gave me, when you hit the top 5 and you're like, I could win this, it starts getting really hard pounding. I know they're right there, and it's like, what do you do? Kind of things.
Absolutely.
I've had some cool moments like that. So that would be the last game that's done it.
That was like the last magical game to you, PUBG? Like I'm talking about, like, you know what I mean? Like I don't have to describe it. And you guys out there listening, I don't have to describe it to you. But the game that you just felt like, this is magic. Like I'm literally counting the hours in the day I'm working to get home and play X game. I'm thinking about it before I go to bed. I just need one more hour. I'll cut my sleep. Like that's the game. You know what I'm talking about. And it's, for me, do you know what game that was for me? The last game that I really felt like was Destiny 1. Destiny 1 was magical to me.
My brother loved Destiny 1.
But
I didn't have the console.
There was moments of, beauty that shined through Destiny 2. Destiny 2 had its moments, but Destiny 1, Vault of Glass, Crota, Taken King, these were the first instances that I know of, and I could be wrong. Someone could correct me in the comments if I'm wrong, that I've seen an FPS game pull off a raid and raid mechanics in a meaningful way, and the team cooperation. If one person messes up, the whole thing, it's a wipe. It was brutal. It was fun. The cooperation, the struggle. And I remember specifically there was a raid called Crota where the final boss, when you fighting him, there was one person they were more important than anyone else. And they were the sword bearer. And I remember the first couple of times we failed at sword bearer, I was like, I am going to get so good at this so that we never fail at this again. We can get the legendaries we need, the exotics we need, and blah, blah, blah. So I start LFGing random groups and being like, can I be your sword bearer? And I start getting insanely good, where I'm like getting DMs from people in the middle of the night. Please be our sword bearer. We need you, bro. We're stuck on it. It was crazy. I actually had to turn my account to like private because I was getting like so many DMs, remove people off my friends because like it was ridiculous. And
that's awesome.
Yeah. And it was fun for like a week. But then like, week 2, week 3, week 4, people are still asking me. I'm just like, no, I'm out. I tap out.
Yeah.
But man, it was magical getting into these, these moments where, you're gaming with your friends, you're grinding for the same, sets, you're competing with each other, but you're also cooperating with each other, and then they have the PvP too, Trials of Osiris, where you're like, grinding for certain gear there, and you have to have like certain builds on, like, I have a hunter and he has a Titan, he has a warlock, so that you can like cooperate and do like certain skills together. And it was magical for me. And PUBG was also really magical, but man, Destiny 1 was the last time I felt like gaming just made sense to me. And I'm like thinking about it all day. I'm counting down the hours. I want to play more. And I don't think it's nostalgia.
A long time ago.
It was a while ago. Now, like I said, there was like Forsaken, and Destiny 2 was really incredible. I haven't played any other expansion besides Forsaken. I might go back for the new Destiny expansion. That it's going to be the last one. I hope it's really good, but man, I cannot think of a game between now and then that has drawn me in the same way. There's been hints of it, right? There's been hints of it. I played
Do you think
Factorio.
that's Oh, nice.
That
I was
was
gonna say, do you
incredible.
think it's because of your stream?
Do I think it's because of my stream that I haven't played a
Where
game like that?
where you haven't gotten excited about a game or played a game that being a streamer makes it so hard. Like I
Hmm.
when I knew we were going to talk about this, it's so difficult because there's so many games that I wish I played while I was growing my Twitch channel
Hmm.
that I didn't because it would have
Interesting
affected
point.
me negatively. And there's so many games that I'm missing out on that now that I'm happy where my Twitch channel is and I'm a little bit more comfortable taking more risks that I want to go back to,
Hmm.
right? Like games that I missed. And
Yeah,
like
I would say I have those
I
too.
remember playing Destiny. I remember playing Destiny 2 and it was okay, but I couldn't get into it. I hated the PvP.
Hmm.
I had no idea what was going on. I was lost. And then I just fell away from it, but I remember it being
Interesting.
fun, but yeah, like I think that that's my hardest thing with it. And why I kind of like the subject today is because that's what I'm actively thinking about is
Are
all these
games
cool
getting
games.
worse, or do we just hate them because we're streamers?
Yeah, like honestly, do you feel that you choose not to
Okay.
play a game or haven't been excited by one
Okay.
because it has this additional effect on you?
Hmm. Like
Like,
I
is
start
a
to play a
game less
game.
fun because it doesn't stream as well?
Right, right. I get into a game, people aren't chatting as much,
Yep.
and my correlation of the game is that it's worse. Mm,
But it's a worse stream. It may not actually be a worse game,
no, absolutely. I
right?
think my answer is sometimes.
Yeah.
I can get discouraged streaming a game, but man, I've streamed some games that my chat didn't like that I love. Um,
Yeah. Like what?
well, I think like, and people in my chat or people who are listening are going to be like, that's not true. But for example, a game that doesn't stream as well is Starship Troopers, and man, I've
Yep.
been loving that game. It's great. I don't think that it's like game changing for me or anything, but man, I will say that they just released a new like update where they have like these modifiers. And Mike, when I'm telling you, bro, I have never felt so overwhelmed in a video game in terms of like PvE, challenged and overwhelmed. Never. They literally dialed it up to 1 billion. Like it's was
Nice.
insane. The amount of bugs that I saw. I mean, I was impressed by the servers. Like everything looked like it was moving well. The physics looked good. And I mean, it
How many
goes from
players are you playing with? Because it's all
16,
co-op PvE, right?
cooperative 16, which feels like a ton.
Yeah.
And when you're in there, it feels like plenty. And
Yeah.
it goes from there being like 50 bugs around, 30 bugs around, 20 bugs to literally hundreds on this modifier. And it's random if you get the modifier or not. Like it's
So you
just
don't know it's coming.
you don't well you do know it's coming, but it's on a timer. And so
Gotcha.
it'd be kind of cool if it was random, but I was like, oh, I'd never played it before. So I was like, oh, what's this new modifier? Oh, these soldiers are fortified, whatever. I can't remember what it was. Oh, and then these ones are fortified too. Oh, cool. And so we got the one that doubled both of the like smaller troops, and they just
Okay.
came swarming at us.
Swarming.
And I was like, man, this is really cool. I'd never felt challenged by a game like this before. But that being said, it's not like my life has changed forever because of this game.
Yeah.
And I mean, that leads me to another question. Do you think that we're expecting too much from video games these days?
I mean, clearly we are because I don't think that I mean, I think video game companies have obviously become less of art and passion and more of profit, right?
Of
So
course.
so that's kind of a part of the problem is are these devs trying to do something that is different and special and make art, or are they uh I'm actually believe that the devs are, but are the people who are
Running
um
the company.
running the company really concerned about something like
Yeah.
that, right? And I don't think so, and I think we expect that of them. So
Mm.
yes, maybe we're expecting too much because they're not willing to do it, but there's so many, it's weird because there's so many like indie devs out there that have done some like really cool stuff with, like one guy making
Incredible.
what was that? Oh my god, it's on the tip of my tongue. I can't believe I can't think of it now. But it's that farm game that everybody loves that you can like date the characters in it. It's a
Harvest Moon? Or are
no,
you
but it's
talking
just like
about
that.
okay, it's oh man, I know it too. I know what you're
Yeah,
talking about. And now I feel like I'm not going to remember it because
I have it on Steam. I'll take a look. But the I can't see it. But that like games like that are made by like one person, man.
yeah.
And they're maybe not innovating or anything, but they're special and they have an
Yeah.
impact on people, right? Like just it doesn't take a lot. I mean, we talked about this before the show. Uh, I wasn't expecting anything from It Takes Two, and that left such an impression on me
Yeah.
of like, wow, they really nailed it, and it was just about it was simple,
Yep.
but it was art. It was absolute art, that game. It was impressive.
Very impressive. And you could tell that the devs were extremely self-aware in terms
Yeah.
of the fact of breaking the fourth wall sometimes, but also
Mhm.
they were leaving room for discussion between the two people playing. And I thought that
Yep.
was really cool. They were, the way that the pacing of the game worked, where they would like add in little mini games or they would,
Mhm.
I thought that was really well done. Again, really great game. I think a great example of a game that, people weren't expecting that much from. I definitely wasn't. And I thought I thought it played really well. It was a
Yeah.
good game.
I purchased, I think, 3 other games that are similar, where it's like, but I haven't played them with anybody yet.
Mm.
Like A Way Out or Green Hell or some of these games. I mean, hey, we could we could try some of these out on stream for sure. But like games that you are co-op side by side. I played oh my god, Portal with my wife. It was
Portal 2,
awesome.
the
Yeah, Portal
co-op.
2 with Emmy. It was amazing.
I would say a very similar vibe to It Takes Two. I think It Takes
Yeah.
Two is a much more, introspective, story based. But yeah, I would say very similar. I think that's awesome.
Yeah.
Can I shift a little bit here in a
Sure.
completely different direction? Actually, same direction, just different side of the spectrum.
Okay.
So we talked about, obviously every game wants to be like the next like game of the year, groundbreaking thing. Gaming is now the biggest entertainment industry in the world by far. Hollywood, which used to be $11.5 billion in 2019. And now this year, 2022, now they're at 6 billion, cut in half. Maybe that's because of COVID. Maybe that's because of, people wanting to go to the movies less, a little bit of both. But the
I haven't
reality
been to
is,
a movie theater.
I haven't either. I like watching movies at home. I kind of always have.
Yeah.
It was a
Yeah.
group experience for me. But now gaming, 2022, $60 billion. Okay. And then pause, another $67 billion on top of that from microtransactions.
Yeah.
Insane. And these numbers might be a little bit off. These are what I got from a couple of different searches. But I mean, if those numbers are far off, I would be surprised because microtransactions were 71% of EA's total revenue in 2021. 71%. So they're one of the biggest publishers out there, and microtransactions are paying their bills by far, way more than 50%. They're getting
to the point where they're integrating them into
they're getting the Partner
everything.
Plus cut for microtransactions. But
they're integrating it into everything too, which is, I mean, do you think that's what's making games worse?
microtransactions,
Yeah.
it's tough, man. I think it depends on the developer, and it
And
really
their
sucks.
and their implementation of them. I
Well,
think Diablo did it okay.
I was gonna say, Diablo. I didn't play Diablo. I've watched a lot of it. I've
Mhm.
watched a lot of it. It's not really my game, so don't come after me in the comments. But I played games like it before. I do like the premise of Diablo. I just didn't really have time for it. But I've watched a lot of it. It seems really good. Plays like a MOBA basically, essentially, right? And yeah, like a single player MOBA. So, not that it's single player, but you know what I mean. It's that kind of vibe. And I think that they were really pressing hard on their store, on their microtransactions. You know, look at what was it called? Diablo Immortal? I forget the mobile game. Was that what it was called?
Yep.
And it's
done very well.
It did so well. It did so well on microtransactions and store purchases, and the people criticize it, and they're like, why would people do this? Why are the publishers doing this? Because it is working. That's why.
Yeah.
Because it is working. That's the simplest answer. Why would they cut out a massive part of their profits when they're literally printing money, just reskinning items or selling items or booster packs or cosmetics, right? Why would they cut out this massive part of their income? And the answer is they're not going to. So my fear, kind of like ads on Twitch, like we talked about last week, is that microtransactions are just going to get worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. And you'll see these breakthroughs of games that don't do that from time to time. Like there are big games out there right now that don't have a whole lot of microtransactions, but I think that microtransactions are just going to get more and more popular. The free-to-play model, for example, one of my favorite games of all time, I don't know if you played it, Titanfall 2?
Yes.
Titanfall 2, amazing game, wonderful. EA launched it the same week as Battlefield 1. Is that the reason why it failed? I don't think so, but they're launching two major titles, like basically in the same week. Battlefield 1 comes out, Titanfall 2 comes out. They both probably sell less than what they're wanting them to. Titanfall 2 definitely did. And then what does EA do? They ditched Titanfall.
Great.
It was amazing. It was a masterpiece.
I love the story.
I think it was a masterpiece. It was so good. Mm-hmm. Super well paced. It was fun. I love the combat personally in games like that. And I played a lot of Apex, but that's what they transitioned to. Not because it was the game that they wanted to make, I don't think. Because they wanted to make Titanfall, they wanted to make Titanfall 3. Yep. But they canceled it to make Apex because it monetizes way better. That's what everyone.
And it was a battle royale. It was the hot thing at the time, and still is.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And Apex has done really well for itself for a free-to-play game. And I think that we're going to see more of these from major studios, people getting roped in with free-to-play games. Because Diablo does cost money, right? It's $60.
Yes.
Yeah. So they're double dipping.
Yeah. So you're paying for it up front, and then you're paying for it, and then you have. I mean, Diablo Immortal was free to play. It was a mobile game, but the Diablo 4 was a game you paid for, and then if you wanted to have some cool armor, and the armor. Here's the thing: is the armor in game looked pretty awesome too, but if you wanted some really cool stuff, it was only cosmetic. So I thought that they the I guess concession that they made is like, yeah, we know we made Diablo Immortal, so we're not going to be too bad in this one. and I hope that that's what they kind of start doing a little bit. It's weird because so many people
leave it
so
in
excited.
The mobile games.
Yeah, leave it over there. Right?
Do you want to hear something crazy?
Go for it.
Mobile games, I wrote this down too. Mobile games, which almost run 100% on microtransactions, 97 billion.
Yeah, I believe it.
97 billion, almost more than game sales and microtransactions combined.
Yeah, you can't.
Crazy.
You can't. You can't, like, some of these games you can't even play without, like, it, and it's crazy because I've done just a few mobile game sponsorships, and they're just a couple.
What's your favorite mobile game of all time, Mike?
Ooh,
I'm just kidding, bro. Because if you don't say,
believe it or not, some of them were actually pretty fun. Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Maybe this game Rise of Kingdoms was really good.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was actually pretty good.
They sponsored you?
Yep. But they all followed the same model. It is like, all right, you have your town and you got to build it up, but you can only build one building at a time. But for just $5, you could build two buildings at a time.
Yeah.
Right. Or you would waste resources to do it, and they all do it. It's like the exact same model for every single game. So like,
and it works.
Even even the thing is like even in the mobile game space, it's like starting to get stale, right? It's just like everything is reskinned. So like even they're gonna have to start innovating to
Yep.
stand out in the crowd and get a piece of that 97 billion, right? Is they can get a bigger piece of that pie if they do something unique and special. Like all gamers are the same in a lot of ways. You got to keep me on the hook. You got to excite me. And if they're all the same in just a different skin, it'll get boring as well.
Yep.
And I think the one place, and these are the type of games that I really enjoy playing that are free from all this stuff. Now, there are different models that they go into, and that's like more like the DLC side of things to make money is like single player games, single player stories, city builders, RTSs, right? Like they go the expansion route. Like we're gonna give you this new species pack or this new storyline that you could play or whatever, right? And people don't like those either, but at the same time, I don't know. I think you you can say, all right, I spent X amount on this expansion. It was worth it, or it wasn't. You didn't feel like you were forced to, I
That's
guess,
true.
or it's a different feeling. I prefer that
So
personally, but yeah.
here's my opinion on microtransactions overall is I do think that the quality it depends, like I said, it depends on the publisher, it depends on the developer, it depends on a lot of factors at the top. But for me, what is the deciding factor, right, is does it make the game pay to win, right? And I'm talking about in PvP environments only. If they want pay to win in PvE games, I'm fine with that, actually. Solo games, I'm fine with that. I'm totally cool with things being broken and unbalanced in games that are strictly non-player versus player. But when you have games like World of Warships, for example, where you're buying premium ammo, or
Mhm.
War Thunder, people are, I don't know if this is still happening, but a little bit ago, people were doing this huge protest against War Thunder because I think it was like the both sides of the air and ground, both communities were both like protesting against the developers because they were like, yeah, it's like pay to win for like the points that you buy. I don't know how it works. I played a bit of War Thunder, but I never bought anything. But my mindset, and this even crosses over to Star Citizen, is that if someone else wants to fund my video game and I'm having fun for free or for the base cost and they're paying for it, I'm totally fine with that. Especially since I've never been like a big microtransaction guy. I've never been like super into cosmetics. I don't think that I've really ever even bought any ever. I don't know about you. I've appreciated them. I'm like, oh, that's really cool. It looks really good, but I've just always rolled like default skin or like whatever I can get in game. Because
So I disagree like heavily on this.
okay, all right,
Like let's use we can use Star Citizen as an example easily,
okay,
right? I've
great.
given this example a few times. Um an 890 jump, which is in case you've never played Star Citizen, an 890 jump is like this big space yacht. And like they even used like the Gatsby music and like Gatsby themed stuff to try to sell it to people, right? And when how I envision that ship is you earn it in the game and it is like this grand achievement. Like look at how wealthy that person is, right? They are they must be amazing at the game, right? Crazy mount in WoW or a crazy armor in whatever game, right? Like that was a rare drop on this boss that was really hard to kill. When you can buy that thing, that takes the achievement away. For me,
Mm,
this is just my personal opinion. That achievement now means nothing. Absolutely nothing because there's no way to distinguish whether the player earned it or if the player paid for it.
mm,
And like, I'm
interesting.
sorry, but in order to be immersed and be like, this goes for MMOs, this goes for PvE games, whatever, even if they're PvE and you're around other players, the it it completely ruins the game for me personally if your outside world success is part of the game. I think a lot of, where did gaming start? Who were the people that played games when I was a kid? were the nerds, right? Were the people that were outcasts or people that didn't fit in. And why did games appeal to them? Like, I know why they appealed to me was because I can be who I thought, who I knew I was inside in this game where
Hmm.
other people outside didn't, or at least I didn't think they did, right? Because you're a kid and you're angsty and you don't know what the hell's going on. But the idea of I can be the hero, I can succeed, and I can show off my success in this world from the hard work that I did in the game. Because obviously now I don't need to worry about my height, my weight, my strength. Obviously, intelligence plays into things in video games, right? And there's some skills, of course, but in a lot of games where you skill up characters, not so much. And it just that the idea of these things completely negates all of that. And then you get all these gamers that have children and jobs and all these things that say, "Well, I have all these things,"
Hmm.
and I simply just go, "Well, you then have to accept that you're not going to be able to achieve everything." Like in a game like an MMO that's supposed to last for 10, 15. We're seeing games now, MMOs like Eve had its 20-year um,
Yeah.
anniversary. Ultima Online came out before Eve. It's still going. Like games like that, uh, you can get the achievement eventually. It's just going to take you longer. And the idea of that you as the player feel you deserve those things without putting in the effort is such a red flag to me. And the
Hmm.
fact that the fact that game companies are uh leaning on that side of things so heavily now
FOMO
with
marketing.
yeah, it's disappointing because for people who like, I mean, I just went full-time streaming. I cut out time for games in my life. I cut out other parts of my life in order to play games more.
Hmm.
But but now I have more time. But the idea of uh knowing that it would take me longer, or take me more days, I wouldn't be world first to things. I accepted that, but I would still work to get whatever achievement in the game, item, armor, ammo, whatever it would be,
Yeah.
and it bothers me.
That makes sense to me,
That's what
honestly.
games are doing today.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense to me. And that might be part of the reason why some games are getting worse. But let me ask you a question. Obviously, this excludes Star Citizen for obvious reasons. But if the real money purchases and the in-game earnable items are two different things, do you still have the same problem with it?
No, like uh
You just don't like being
d-
able to
d-
purchase items that you are supposed to earn in game
yeah.
with real money. I agree with that, actually. I
Yeah.
agree. And, not to bring in Star Citizen too much, but I mean, I was even talking about this today. I think that selling capital ships in general was a mistake. I think that it would have been a much better goal to earn in game with your org or steal them, occupy them. Maybe there's only a limited amount in game that you have to
They
like.
still have the opportunity for that. They just have to do different ones, and
True,
they can make
true.
unique experiences that aren't that uh and I people ask why I still play it or why I still have faith is that those opportunities aren't dead yet, right? Like they haven't killed the game completely. They are actively stabbing it with like a million tiny cuts, and it's bleeding out
It's
like
on
very
life support at the
slowly.
same time, though.
Yeah,
It's
it's
like
in
blood
such a
in, blood
weird
out.
place. Yeah. Exactly. And it's basically new blood, new backers come in, buy things. Old backers get bored, upset, whatever, stop buying things, and it's
Hmm.
just been cycling the whole time.
And they've been
But
gaining more than they've been losing.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
obvious.
Well,
Um,
because like people still stick around to check it out, but maybe they're not investing
do
as much money into it.
Do you want to know why I still play Star Citizen?
Why?
I think the reason why I play is because there are brief moments that I have in that game that give me feelings that I had whenever I was playing Destiny 1.
Yes.
And
This game could do it.
I know they
Like
could.
it has the opportunity to do it. Like, listen, there are some there you can knock on them for so many things, the way they funded the game, all that stuff. There are a lot of problematic things, But if somebody's trying to do something pretty cool and unique and a little bit different,
It's them.
it's them. Yeah.
It's both their biggest flaw and also their greatest achievement is they're
It has a
doing too much. And I don't even
Yep.
mean that in a negative way, but
Yeah.
that is both their greatest achievement and their biggest flaw is they're doing too much. And I've raved about this. People always are like, well, why don't you play Elite Dangerous? Why don't you play No Man's Sky? Both great games, if you ask me. I don't really like when people hate on those games because I think they've both done their job really, really well. But Star Citizen, its content delivery system is why I play it. The way that the game is presented to you and the way that you play it is different from any other video game I've played besides one game, Sea of Thieves. I think that you, aside from the graphics, you play Sea of Thieves almost identically to the way that you play Star Citizen in terms of immersion, in terms of, multi-crew. In fact, I would say Sea of Thieves actually at the moment does a much better job.
Yeah, of course. And that's the best part is Chris Roberts goes on camera saying that he has more content than Sea of Thieves. And it's like,
did he say that?
Yes. Literally called out Sea of Thieves and said, I have more content in my game right now than Sea of Thieves.
When was
This
that?
like 6 years ago.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh
So like
my God, bro.
like blind as all can be, right? Blind as a bat when it comes to that stuff.
Well, I mean, they're talking about content today on ISC where they're like, oh, the gameplay at the station. Brother, what gameplay are we talking about at the station?
Yeah, they're insane.
Like when our terms of gameplay are much different than the devs is what I'm thinking. Yeah. The internal conversations they have, we have to remember that there is a totally different culture inside of CIG and inside of a lot of these development companies, not just Star Citizen, that differs from the community entirely. Where they're having conversations and talking to each other and propping each other up. And like nobody wanted more elevators and more, trams in Star Citizen, but here we are, right? If you guys don't know what we're talking about, essentially they're removing the oldest OG station in the game that, you didn't have to ride an elevator to get to your ship. You didn't have to ride a tram. You just hopped out of bed, you walked downstairs, you pressed a button, and there was your ship. And now you've got to ride 2 elevators to get to your ship. And you got to open a hangar, and it's just they're not keeping it simple. And it's so funny because I feel like the entire community was in unison with that of like, we want more experiences like that are just simple. But
yeah, and then they just went and
they did their own thing.
The opposite.
Yeah, they did their own thing. And again, it's their game, but again, the conversations they're having internally are different than the conversations the community's having, right?
Yeah.
So,
I mean, when you talked about Sea of Thieves graphics, I don't even think it's the graphics necessarily that are the problem. If their characters were less cartoony, I think I would be incredibly immersed into that game as well.
Really?
Yeah.
That, in my opinion, Sea of Thieves is one of the most immersive games of all time. You ever fallen off a ship in Sea of Thieves? It's got the most immersive water of any game. It's incredible. Yeah. Like they do a fantastic job with that game. And the gameplay in that game is always a blast. Man, and it's really cool too, because unless someone is just an absolute god at that game, I can hop in even after all these years and go play and still feel like I can kind of contend with other PvPers, other people who are trying to fight and stuff, because it's a game that they got the balance right and they got the multi-crew right, and it feels good to play with other people and against other people, really. And yeah, there's some cartoony aspects and arcadey aspects, but it's a video game, right? So
exactly,
they're keeping it simple. Right?
Anytime I've played it, it's been
simple.
Fun.
Yeah.
Anytime I played it, I've really enjoyed it, and I think I wish I played it more. Did you ever play Barotrauma?
No, but I know what game you're talking about. I know what game you're talking about. Yeah, I've never played it.
It's so ridiculous.
Do I need to play it?
I think you should. Yes, like I think everybody should play Barotrauma at least once. It's it's so insane because everybody has to work together perfectly for things to work out. But then there's just ridiculous RP elements and crazy like fun moments that you can have as well. And there's opportunities for sabotage. You know, it's kind of like a little Among Us as well at the same time. It's a cool game.
Interesting.
It's a really 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 cool game. It's just like I think games that still really excite me. And I think where games have gotten better over the years is cooperative experiences. Where like before it was, remember like Halo was like these side by side. Oh, I'm stop looking at my screen, bro. You know, like I think they've gotten so much better
Yeah.
at things like that. Is whether it's PvE, PvP. I think those experiences have improved greatly, and the gaming industry has grown there. Um, and then some really good storytelling games too over the
Yeah.
years as well.
I think that it's, are games getting worse? I think the answer should be clear to most people, which is yes and no, right?
Yeah.
Graphics are getting better. Monetization is getting worse, right?
Innovation's not really.
Innovation's pretty stagnant, I'd say.
Yeah.
I would say that sometimes good, sometimes bad. But for the most part, when an awesome game comes out these days, I feel like it's this game, but they did this better. Or,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
It's this plus this.
Here's a great example. BattleBit. They took Battlefield. It's made by 4 people. Incredible.
Yep.
4 people.
Roblox Battlefield.
They basically put Minecraft, Roblox, whatever you want to call it, into a Battlefield style game where it's 126 versus 126. I think I got the numbers right. And it's absolute chaos. I mean, I've been playing it off stream. I played it on stream a bit with the stream.
I just purchased it.
Much fun, dude. We got to play it. We got to play it on stream. It's so much fun. I mean, and the gunplay in it feels great. The sniping feels great. I haven't done any flying yet. I mean, I'm down to maybe try. But you know, people. I think the driving
use
feels
your
good.
flight sticks?
You can, yeah.
No way.
You can.
Seriously?
Yeah, and you know what's so
sick.
crazy? Here's what I'm going to compare it to. A game that has a major studio backing it. I'm pretty sure it's EA, Battlefield, right? We talked about them earlier with Battlefield 1. EA comes out and they release Battlefield 2042. And it's a absolute nightmare. Desync, hit reg, I mean, connection problems, all sorts of things. People rubber banding. It felt like I was, playing Star Citizen almost. Jets teleporting back and forth. And the worst part is, literally, day one, I have this unrepairable bug that the devs refuse to fix because it's such a niche bug with like 5% of players where I cannot control my mouse in that game. I can't do it. Literally, my mouse goes wild. I unplug all my controllers from the game. I unbind every single controller button in the game. Still, every time I open that game, my guy just spins, and he's looking up and down. He spins, and I don't know what's going on. And apparently, it's a bug that like 5% of people have. It's been around for years. It's been around for years, and they refuse to acknowledge it. I could not play the game. It took me like an hour and a half to do it. To like work through it, and I was just like, finally, you know what, I'm done. And
have you ever refunded a game?
I have refunded. I've refunded a game. I can't remember what it was. I've refunded one game on Steam before. I can't remember what it was, but man, it's so interesting to me that it's these games that these small indie developers are producing that get me excited. You know what other game? Probably top 3. Okay, you ready? Destiny 1. Mm-hmm. Oh, this is a tough one. But I'm going to say Fallout New Vegas and Outer Wilds. Not Outer Worlds. We've talked about this game before. Outer Wilds. Masterpiece. Yeah. Masterpiece.
Is that the one where you have to read everything?
You do have to read a lot. Yeah.
I got to play that off stream because I can't read.
Me either. I'm dyslexic.
For the people who... how did you do it then? Did you play it on stream or no?
If I read to myself, it's easier for me. So what I do is I read to myself, and then I will tell. Basically, I summarize for the chat.
Okay.
Or I just read slowly. It just depends on how I'm feeling. But I tell people, I'm like, if you make fun of me reading, I say everything is on the table. Today, I'll tell people if they make fun of me reading, I'm like, hey, I'm dyslexic. I give them one warning. If Everything's on the table. You can make fun of my hair, my face, my looks, but if you make fun of the way that I read, you're getting banned permanently.
Yeah.
Literally no
I
exceptions.
mean,
It's a disability.
yeah.
I'm literally in my brain reading it right, but the words just come out wrong.
Yeah.
Or I read things wrong. It's not like I'm like super, woe is me about it, but like, come on, man, I can't control it. Let's just get over it. So I try to be real with my chat about that. But again, read it to yourself, summarize it. But that game, if you guys don't know Outer Wilds and you're listening, basically here's the premise, and I'm not spoiling anything. You wake up as an alien on a planet. You're in a little village, very quaint. You get in your spaceship for the first time. You fly up into space. It's kind of like a No Man's Sky kind of feeling in terms of the scale. There's all these like very cool, diverse planets that you can explore. And you're looking around, and about 20 minutes in, the sun, this music starts playing, and the sun that you're flying around just explodes. And you're like, what the heck? And you wake up on the ground exactly where you were at the beginning of the game. And you have to figure out what just happened, what you're doing, how to, maybe potentially what's going on, basically. I'm not going to spoil too much, but what's going on? Why did a series of events just happen? And man, the way that the game wraps up, I love a good puzzle game. I mean, it's so well done. It was made by like a group of like 10 people or less. I don't know how many people, but it's a very small studio. And I mean, that game's a masterpiece if you ask me. So good. I love games like that.
I started playing it, and then the moment it was a lot of reading, I turned it off. I was like, I can't stream this. I can sit and play this on my own because I'll read it just quietly and take my time through it and whatever. But I was like, I don't want to, because I feel like games like that, and this comes back to streaming, right? I feel like in games like that, I have to like voice act the whole thing myself with different voices or whatever to like
who cares?
play the game. Yeah. So I was just like, I just
Do you
was
get
like, nah, I don't want to
embarrassed
do this.
easy, Mike?
Yeah.
You do?
Yes. Not
Yeah.
on my stream. Not on my stream, but
Hmm.
I guess with reading maybe a little bit. But I don't know.
I think
in real life, incredibly easy. I am super shy.
I've gotten better at it. I don't get embarrassed at all. Like I'm literally the hardest person to embarrass. Mainly because most of my life I just did it to myself, right? But I was like the most awkward kid growing up. And I'm very hard to embarrass. It's like my superpower is what I tell people. I just do not give a absolute flying fuck what people think of me. And it's one of the things I love about myself. But I do get frustrated at people, especially when I feel like they're attacking my like humanity. You know what I mean? Like my intelligence. And it's something I've gotten a lot better at, right? I really try to take everything that people say in my chat as like 100% a joke, never serious. Oh man, why'd you have to do that to me? And man, that's really helped a lot with like doing stuff like that, because like I get you, bro. Like people send me the monthly report and Star Citizen, I don't even open it. Because I refuse to read it on stream.
Crazy? I read it on stream, but I like, yeah, that's like one of the
That's
only things I'm
crazy to
able
me.
to. But like I can't.
I hate
for
that,
me,
dude.
I think what it really is like I feel like I have to act the characters. I'm not
Interesting.
dyslexic.
I'm like
or at
the
least
opposite.
I haven't been diagnosed with dyslexia or anything. I'm just a result of a bad education system that let me pass by when I wasn't
Gotcha.
good enough to. And the I think the monthly report I skim through, and I'll like kind of proofread a little bit while I'm going through and like, ooh, there's a word that I know is interesting. I'll touch on this subject. But for a game where I have to like read all the dialogue, I do feel like I have to like be the character or immerse the other people that are watching or whatever, or even myself a little bit in it. Like when a game is properly voice acted, and that's like our game's getting worse.
Yeah.
These games got so big that it's so, how do you voice act all these characters, all these stories, all these things? Diablo did really good with that. Diablo 4 was, I thought, really, I think a lot of people clowned on the voice acting because it was clearly not um the best, like super professionals or whatever, but it was good enough, and I'm happy it was there. Like it allowed me to follow the story much
Yeah.
easier. So I don't know. Like again, I want to play that game, but the moment I was like, there's no voice acting." I was like, I just can't do it."
Yeah. That makes
That's
sense
like
to me.
almost a requirement for me these days.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. Well, hey, don't play it then. But I mean, man, that game's a masterpiece in my opinion. I think Fallout was a masterpiece. I don't know, man. So, what games are you excited for coming up?
Oof. All right.
Starfield?
Yes, of course. I think from a content creation standpoint, I don't think so. I think like couple days
Yeah.
maybe. We'll see. Who knows?
I don't think it's going to be
Um,
like Star Citizen level. That's the thing about single
no.
player games is that unless you are a dedicated single player game playthrough streamer, it's like single player games get boring, you know? Like
Bro,
they get boring to watch, to
let's
play.
plays let's plays channels and let's play streams are on Twitch 10 years old, on YouTube like 20 years old, man. Like people have been doing that stuff forever. And I think people that are really good at it are in that space already
Yeah.
and succeeding in that space. I would love to succeed in that space. That if I could do anything else than what I'm doing now, it would be I would die to do that. That would be if you asked me what type of content I could make in the future and would want to make in the future, it would be really good let's play content.
That's so interesting to
Story
me.
games, like sharing the story games with your viewers and cuz games can get emotional and fun and
Yeah,
there's multiple
absolutely.
storylines. I don't know. I think that's something I would love absolutely love. And maybe Starfield's gonna be really good for that. Like, that's where my fingers are crossed is
Yeah.
there's some cool stories and unique things to share.
Interesting. I think that's where we differ a little bit because I stand by
Okay.
what I said about it getting boring to watch, whatever. Because
Mhm.
for me, I need other player interaction. You know,
Yeah.
like that's something that's like so fun to me. Is not like, hey, Mike, do you want to go play? Although I did have a lot of fun like playing with you today, for example.
Yeah. Yeah.
When I get organic interactions, like something magical to me in gaming is teaming up with other people randomly. And like games I'll name Rust, GTA, Star Citizen,
Daisy.
DayZ, right? Like these are games when you run into people organically and you get to talk to them, you get to partner up with them. Sea of Thieves, even. I've done it before. So much fun. These organic interactions where you get to team up with people. So much fun. And that is like my bread and butter of probably my last, like, I don't know, probably 8 years of like my favorite interactions in video games have been all through other people and like experiencing games with other people.
Yeah.
That's fun to me. And like my favorite moments in games like these days is when I talk to someone, I have a cool interaction, I have a team up, like I did your hardcore challenge in Star Citizen the other day. I teamed up with this random guy at SBK. His name was Han Solo.
Nice.
Han Solo, number, something like that.
Sure.
And, we're like talking to each other. He barely trusts me. I barely trust him. We're pulling contraband out of the dispenser. We're like looking around corners. He sees a player. We tag team him together. Like, it ended up being awesome. And I never saw him again. I didn't add him. He didn't add me. We literally just walked our separate ways into the sunset. And man, moments like that are so cool that they're possible. I love that. It feels like, it feels like I'm in a Mandalorian episode or like an episode of like a show or something. Like these like cool, like random team ups. And maybe I'll see that guy again someday or, and maybe he'll like save me in my final moments. I don't know. Like I like those interactions or crazy moments where other players like come and try to attack you and something evolves into something else. Those are really cool to me.
Yeah.
So
I
don't
mean,
know.
when I
like
play
single player games
games,
though.
yeah, like for me, when I play multiplayer games, I yearn for that experience as well. Is like it has to be other people. VoIP has to be a thing. Like you
Yeah.
have to be able to be like, "Hey man, like what's your name?" And then him like he could just say whatever name and be whatever character he wants to be in that moment. You
Yeah.
can be whoever you want to be in that moment, right? Like yeah, I was gonna say my character's name in Star Citizen. I'd rather not because we try to keep it as like quiet as possible so people don't bother you. But
What do you
the
mean,
idea
Mike?
of
What do you mean? People
yeah,
bothering you? And never mind.
no, it totally didn't happen today. But the idea of like I don't know, like I want to kind of it's on topic, but it's off topic as far as games go. Did you ever notice that there's some games that like other people play and people love to play, but you just watch? Like I have no
Yeah,
desire to play some games, but I
Tarkov.
watch them all the time. I
That's my
think like
game.
stars like we exist for people
I literally
in
tell
a
people.
lot of
Do you know what I
ways.
tell people? People always
Yeah.
ask me. They're like, "How are you interested? How are you still playing? Man, you're insane." I say, "I play Star Citizen, so you don't have to." That's what
Yeah.
I tell people. I play, so you don't have to. And I think that's what a streamer should be, right?
Yeah.
Is yeah, I like want to hang out and I want to like have fun and talk to chat about random stuff, but I play so you don't have to. You can get your fix. You can play while I play. I can do the and people always ask me, they're like, "Oh, why would you do that? Why would you risk it?" Blah blah blah. And I'm like, "I'm always going to do the thing that you would be too afraid to do." And I don't mean that in like I'm going to do the stupid thing so you don't have to. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's the kind of content I want to make. I want to do the risky thing. I want to do the crazy thing. So like you can like, not lose your stuff. You can like keep your money. You don't have to burn your money in Star Citizen or whatever game. Like that's the kind of content I want to do, like the goofy, wacky, crazy stuff that's dumb, right? And kind of risk it for the biscuit.
Mm.
Right. So
Yeah, like I think some games lend themselves to that
yeah.
so well. And the games that do the best I think with that are the exact games that you're describing is the games where uh they're more interesting to watch because the person who is playing them is very good at those interactive experiences.
Hmm.
Like there's a streamer named Smoke. Do you know him? He
I know
plays
Smoke.
Daisy.
Yeah, I've watched him play Daisy. Yeah.
Oh my god. Like the way he interacts with people is just perfection. Like he knows how to make them feel uncomfortable, right? Like they're gonna like hey, I might be a little crazy and I might kill you, but you can trust me and maybe something cool will happen. And that's like every interaction with him. And it's always this like this tension between them. And like I woke my wife up one night, like I couldn't sleep and I was watching him and I was dying laughing at one
Dude,
experience, you know?
one of my favorite clips that I've ever seen him, like one of my favorite Smoke moments is, and this is exactly what I'm talking about, right? Is he's in a gunfight with someone and a car comes driving by full speed with four guys in it. You know what clip I'm talking about? And
No.
he looks down the road at this car, shoots the driver in the head. The car crashes into the house next to them. They all die. And he yells at the guy he's in a gunfight with. He's like, yo, stop shooting me. And the guy peeks his head up and he goes, "Yo, you want some loot?" He's like, "We're teammates now, bro." I'm like, oh my God, that's so awesome, dude. Like, those are the moments I live for in gaming.
Oh yeah, dude. My favorite one was it was more recent. I think it was he comes up to these two people that were playing together, and they separate for a second. So he gets one separate from the other, and he goes, "Yo, at the right moment, do you like do you want to kill this guy?" And the guy like shakes his head, yes, right? And then he immediately goes back to the other guy and goes, "Yo, this guy you've been playing with, you can't trust him, dude. I just asked him if he would kill you, and he said yes." Right. And then their interactions, like now they don't like each other, but the other guys try to get them to
Oh
like each
my
other.
God.
And yeah, the other guy turns his back, and you know how Daisy, there's like some emotes, right? Is he like he gives the middle finger to the guy that he's like messing with, and then that he gives him the middle finger back, and it was just like it was such a real moment in a video game
Yeah.
that it was just so good, and like a, bring it all the way back to our games getting worse. Like, how can I say games are getting worse when just like absolute ridiculous situations like that can happen in video games now, right? Like Daisy is objectively like a terrible game and has had a terrible development
Fair
time,
enough.
but it is also like a masterpiece at the same time, right?
Fair enough.
It's like I can't say games are
When did Desync
getting
release
worse.
though? It's been a while, right?
It's been a while, sure, yeah.
Man,
Maybe 5 years ago?
5 years? Really?
I think so.
Really? Hold on.
It's 2023. That would be 2018.
It released in 2018? Really?
I think so. I don't know.
Man.
I'm guessing.
Why do I feel like it was before that? I don't know. But yeah,
I mean, it was in beta forever.
True. Very interesting, right? So our game's getting worse.
2013, but early access alpha. So like, when did it go 1.0? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. But man, our game's getting worse. I don't know. It's hard to say yes, but it's also hard to say no. You know, it's a little bit of this. I think we're in this balance right now, and I think depending on where gaming could go, like we are at the whim of these. Like Cyberpunk was a great example of this. Are people expecting too much out of video games? Well, I mean, Cyberpunk like this is the main point of this topic, right?
Where do the expectations come from?
I don't know. People were just literally thinking that game was going to change their life. Death threats going to the developers because the game got delayed. Stuff like that. Wild. I wasn't expecting that much from the game. Now, can I ask you, did you play it day one?
But were you? No, I still haven't played it.
Wow, really?
Really, I've been waiting, and apparently now, like with the
DLC's coming out.
Whenever the DLC comes out, I might try it. But
you should play before the DLC. You should play like the week before. That'd be good.
Like play leading up to it or whatever.
Yeah. I played it day one.
Like you were saying, I wasn't. I don't know where the expectations came from. The developers set these expectations. What happened with No Man's Sky? They told you were going to be able to do this, that, and the other thing, right? These
you're not wrong.
came from somewhere. And that's
they
part
were
of the problem.
Themselves, to be fair, right?
Yeah, of course, but it took time to do that, right? I mean, they were in trouble. Like, I mean, Star Citizen had more viewers on 2 days after No Man's Sky launch on Twitch than
because there was nothing to do, right?
Yeah, it was bad. So the idea of like, where are the expectations being set, or are our expectations too high? I don't think so, because the developers are the ones setting it, right? Like, we're not making a lot of this stuff up in our head. You see a trailer, you see all these is Starfield going to be as good as that 45-minute video? No,
I sure hope so.
Guys, I watched a video about this planet. All these planets, they're so amazing, bro. They showed 5 planets out of 1,000. Like, do you not think they're gonna end up being cookie cutter and feel the same? Sure. Now, they spoke the way they spoke, I think, was very clear. Some planets are going to have bespoke, like, special gameplay and stuff, and some planets are going to be for resources.
Yeah.
And those are where you're going to go, and you're going to put your little base down, and you're going to extract resources from it. They're going to be boring. There's not going to be anything there. Yep. And that's where, but they can still use the word, we put, the phrase, we put 1,000 planets in, and that's all that is. Are any of them, are they all special? No.
Now, I'm not necessarily against that, right? Because, and I talk about this in Star Citizen as well, like this whole idea that we need 125 systems is ridiculous. I don't think we need that. In fact, I think that we could have a great game with just the system we have now, personally. I don't think there's any reason to believe that, because location density, there is more locations and density in Skyrim, which is literally you could fit on a less than 1% of a crater. Yeah, you could fit in a crater on one of these moons, but the location density of those locations is so much greater than Star Citizen will probably ever have, right? And that's what people don't get. Like, people are like, oh, but we need this system. No, we don't. Like, literally add a couple more planets or adjust the ones we have now. One's a high sec planet, one's a low sec planet, one's a null sec. Then you have the asteroid field over here where the aliens hang out. And all of a sudden, you have a single system, multi-dynamic law system and like environment, right? Like, and not that they're going to do that. They're, of course, not going to do this. But my point is that scale doesn't matter. And I think in Starfield, making it where these planets are points of interest, where the good ones are like really cool, and then, the lame ones are just, Yeah, for resources. And they even said scanning it will give you an idea of what to expect once you're on it. They're being very clear about that. Is the game going to be a game changer, life changer? Probably not. But I like that it feels like they're doing just enough. They're keeping it simple for the most part.
Yep.
Is copium and expectations through the roof? Absolutely. Are people going to be disappointed on day one? Absolutely. Am I going to play it and probably enjoy it on day one? Yeah, I think so. I could be wrong about that, but I think it will be good day one. I don't think it's going to be game changing or life changing day one, just to be clear. I don't think that you should take a month off or anything like that, but I think I'll enjoy day one? Yeah, I think so. Just to be honest, same. I think I'll enjoy day one.
I mean, I enjoyed Jedi Survivor, even though it was incredibly stuttery and problematic, because I play those games for the story. I wasn't expecting myself to be a Jedi and perfect every time or anything like that. But I still think what gamers are upset about are the games not working. Like our expectations are now so low that I don't care if the game is not innovative.
You just want it to work.
If it works out of the box, it's like, wow, what a great company. You know what I mean? Wow, they really care about their fans, and you're just like, wait, they're doing the bare minimum. Like this is the bare minimum.
Elden Ring was such a pleasant surprise. Did you play it?
I didn't. I will. Yeah. I will, but I didn't yet.
It was such a pleasant surprise for the community, I think.
Elden Ring was probably the last major release where I was uncomfortable taking risks outside of my main game. Content creation wise.
Well, and I'll take a step backwards here. Cyberpunk, I enjoyed it day one. I loved it, actually. I didn't really see all the point of all the controversy. Now, if you're playing on console, I take it back. Console was a mess.
Yeah, it was terrible, right?
I played on PC day one. I had no problems with the game. All these issues people were talking about, I didn't have them. I don't know if I just got lucky or what, or if I'm just so used to playing a absolutely broken game all the time.
Player, sir.
I am I'm in the trenches every day digging, in Star Citizen. So these small bugs just rolled off my back, I guess. But man, Star Citizen, Cyberpunk, Cyberpunk, I had a blast day one playing.
Okay.
So I wasn't really, and maybe this is a good thing. Right, but this is why I expect I'll have a good time playing Starfield day one. For the same reason. Now, to be fair, I didn't have a good time playing Fallout 76. Not day one, but
it's a multiplayer game.
It's a multiplayer game versus a single player.
So, like networking and things working, like bugs are significantly worse when other players are involved, because now it's not you beating a level. Now it's not you beating a boss that you could try again and hit save or whatever, right? It is you versus them, and when you win in a multiplayer environment, it usually feels so like such an accomplishment, because you outsmarted them, you outskilled them. When the game is fighting that, it is so disappointing and so frustrating.
Most definitely.
Yeah, you feel cheated, right? Like you get behind a wall and die because of desync is like one of the more frustrating things in an FPS game. Or
right. Because it feels like you were cheated. Like you didn't actually lose is what it feels like. And you may have lost that fight, but you don't know. Feel
and
like
now you can't now you can't trust the game anymore.
You'll never get that moment back. Yeah. Right? It's the same thing if like you get cheated on, for example. Same feeling, I would say.
A lot of people, when that happens, they don't trust the opposite sex anymore, and it was a singular person, right?
I'm talking about cheating in video games, Mike.
Oh, I think it's the same concept, though. What do you mean? I don't get you literally said cheated on.
Yeah, like cheated on by a cheater, a hacker.
You don't say that with video games.
You never heard that?
No. You say I got cheated. No, I was cheated or something. Like I got cheated on is reserved for relationships, I feel like.
I've heard lots of people use that in the Tarkov community.
Okay, well, I don't know,
I don't
man.
know. Maybe it's
You are
not
the
as
first
popular.
person I've ever heard say that about a video game
No, cheated on in a video game is what I mean. But
in Minecraft.
in Minecraft, in a video
Okay.
game, not real life,
Okay.
Roblox. Um, but yeah, no, I
I've
agree.
honestly never heard that.
I think that whether you are in a multiplayer game or a single player game, the experience of playing without issue is the number one pinnacle of what gamers want, right? Whether that's simply not running into desync, not running into cheaters, not running into bugs. I'm talking about single player game.
Not running into endless queues to get into an
endless
MMO on
queues,
day one.
Right? People just want to sign on and play the video game, right? Whether it's single player, multiplayer, whatever. And I think that, man, Starfield is going to be it's going to be a line in the sand, I think. Because I think if Bethesda messes this up, I really believe this. They might have some small issues at the front, and that's fine. But if they really fumble the bag, like Fallout 76 fumbled the bag, man, I do not think they will ever recover their trust from the community. I don't think they'll be able to.
It doesn't matter. You really think it matters? I feel like every game company now, dude, we couldn't, delay.
You just think they'll release it, it'll be shit, and then 6 months from now they'll fix it, and then everyone will forgive them.
Or 6 months from now, the next asshole comes by and says he's gonna do it differently. You know what I mean? Like
True.
Ashes of Creation is the Star Citizen of fantasy MMOs.
True.
This dude comes around and says he's going to do it differently, says all the same shit Chris Roberts says all the time. I literally want to jump out of that window over there right now every time I listen to Steven Sharif talk now, because I got baited again, I feel like. I'm sure maybe the game comes out and it's good.
I don't know, man. I hear so many mixed things about that game. Some people are like, it's a scam, and some people are like, I played the alpha test and it was awesome. So,
well, everything that I saw from the alpha test was very good. Like they had a lot of people playing, and there was like no desync.
The question for me is, do people say that it just feels like Star Citizen, man? Like it feels like you could watch a Star Citizen stream, and people do this. People will come into my stream and be like, man, why don't you get any problems? I'm like, brother, have you been watching for like more than 5 minutes? It's like, I wonder if people say the same thing about, they're like, yeah, I played Star Citizen. It was great. That game's great. So
I see that in my comments, like, because I'm obviously very critical of the game.
Yeah.
And when I make a critical video, I get tons of comments that doesn't happen to me.
Yeah.
Well,
crazy.
Like, buddy, I put the video on the screen of it happening to me.
Yeah.
So it happens. Whether it happened
wild.
to you or not doesn't mean it doesn't happen, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I had someone try to claim they'd never had a 30K ever before. And I was like, well, then you don't play.
Yeah, you
like,
never logged
that's
in.
it. You don't play because, I'm approaching 7,000 hours in that game. And I have had hundreds and hundreds and hundreds. I mean, it's better than it used to be. That's for sure. But
that's debatable. Depends on the patch.
Oh man,
right now,
I feel like it is. I feel like it is. There's been patches in the past where it was like one every 30 minutes.
Sure.
You were gambling to see if you could make your cargo. The biggest risk to traders was, would you be able to make it to the landing zone before you 30K? And it's like, I don't know, man. I would love to see more stability in video games in general. But man, Star Citizen is definitely a game that desperately needs it. Desperately.
Yeah.
That's for sure. That's the biggest thing plaguing the game. I think this patch, great content. Wonderful content, actually. Great gameplay.
Bad stability.
Just if the stability was there, it's golden. And you could see 318 people were so extremely hyped for the changes, for the new gameplay, and then 318 goes terrible. The hype starts dying down. 318.2 comes out. People get excited again. Same problems. People can log in, but once you've logged in, it's like not even worth it. 319 comes out. Same problems. 319.1 comes. So many people, in my opinion, have given up that the concurrency has gone down so much that that's what's balanced it out. That's my theory.
Yeah.
that so many people have given up that now the game is stable. Ish.
Yeah. Ish. Yeah. That's a
That's a
I mean,
bummer.
that's the thing that and that's the thing that happens in MMOs too, which is why you have such long queues at the beginning of like MMO launches, is that they know a big part of their audience is going to quit and they don't want to open all these realms just to have to close them. So they just make you wait.
Fair
And
enough.
it's like, yeah.
Also, everyone's not going to be playing at the same time, moving forward. But the other thing, I mean, that's fair enough. But the thing to me is, once you get in the queue, once you're in the game, it works, right? When I played New World day one, I was like a 5-hour queue. But once I got in,
New World had its issues.
It did.
Yeah,
it did. But the fundamental game worked once I was in.
Yeah, once you're okay.
Like the main problems were like exploits and stuff, right?
Yes, because that's when once you pass leveling, the end game was really problematic.
The end game was problematic. I remember that.
Yeah,
but
and they didn't test the end game with us very much. That was kind of the problem.
Yeah, the end game was problematic for sure, but it was the ride to the end game. I mean, man, I probably got 200 hours in that game. You know, I got my money out of it.
I still love that game. I don't play it, but I know I actually think about playing it all the time.
Yeah,
I love that game. It was great.
Yeah, I love it. I know one of the guys who made it, and his opinion on MMOs now is that they need to die. So I guess that's what developing an MMO does to you.
I think the people who want them won't let them die, though.
Oh, like, absolutely.
This is why Ashes of Creation exists.
Absolutely.
Because somebody got on stage and said, I'm going to do it.
Yep.
And then everyone was like, oh, maybe this is going to be the guy who does it, because they're all waiting for. I mean, there's so many people that are my age that are waiting for that EverQuest Ultima Online experience again.
Yep.
I completely agree. That's why Mortal Online came out and is trying to be basically the next Ultima Online. And then you have Ashes of Creation, which is trying to, I think, trying to compete with like the WoWs and stuff like that. Even though they're not really competitive, like very similar. But I don't know.
And this is why competition is this is why I want to Star Citizen competitors so badly, because the day Ashes of Creation comes out and it's successful, what's WoW doing? They're going to be scrambling to make better content, to make better changes, to release better content. They're dropping WoW 2 day one. They're like, guys, guess what? WoW 2 is coming out day one of Ashes of Creation. Why? Because they're not going to go without kicking and screaming. You know what I mean? And who benefits from that situation? We do. That's why I love competition in these areas. But man, Star Citizen's, it's a hard game to compete with when they're trying to do everything, right?
Yeah, nobody wants to compete with it. And they're also fumbling.
Yeah.
So everyone's like, well, why would I try? Right? Like they have their niche fans that are really excited, and everybody's waiting on the sidelines. Like everyone knows what Star Citizen is in the gaming community. Like a lot of people do, but none of them are playing it. Yep. They're just keeping a close eye,
Tons of people are just waiting. And I think 3.18 was going to be one of those patches where the floodgates were going to open. So more people than ever were watching, interested in 3.18 day one than I've ever seen. It was insane. I think that was going to be.
I mean, I don't think it was our record viewership, but
my record. My record, aside from being on the front page.
Okay. Probably close for me, and it was insane, and we couldn't even get in the game. Okay.
Yeah, actually, I was going to say besides CitizenCon, whenever I did the watch party with all you guys.
Yeah.
That's actually not true. I beat that with day one of 3.18. And
the only time I had more was a CitizenCon, but it was a CitizenCon, I believe, in Austin, and everybody went. Every streamer that streamed Star Citizen at the time went, except for me. And CIG said that that was the one that they wanted to charge $20 to watch it. And so you couldn't just watch it on YouTube, and they weren't streaming it on their Twitch channel. So I restreamed it and had like 4,000 viewers until their stream died on their own website. So then they went to Twitch, and then I went down a little bit.
Oh no.
Yeah, but it was like that was my record. So
What year
aside
was
from
that?
that, sure.
2017?
2017.
Yeah.
I think I had like
Interesting.
3,000 or 4,000.
I was gonna say because my first one was 2018, and I went to Austin for that because they did like VerseCon, because those are the people who didn't want to fly all the way to the EU, right?
I went to VerseCon, but I think I went in. I don't know when. Yeah, all the timelines. I'm not sure.
2018 is when I went to that one. So,
but I didn't go to that one because I don't think we met there.
No, we didn't.
And I went to a VerseCon, so I think that was 2017. But yeah,
or maybe I went in 2019. I can't remember. Anyways, that's not the point.
No.
Here's the point: is are video games dying? Final closing thoughts, Mike.
No.
We're at an hour 40. FYI.
Holy shit. Okay. Yeah, I don't think they are, and I'm super excited for a bunch of games coming out.
Yeah.
I still have, amazing games that changed my life. I don't think I mentioned any of mine, like Mass Effect, things like that.
Oh, dude.
Ultima Online, Mass Effect, and a lot of sports games. Sports games are fun. Doing management of sports games, like NHL was a amazing game for me.
Yeah. Well, do I think video games are getting worse? Do I think they're dying? Absolutely not. Do I think they're getting worse? I think yes and no. I think the best days of video games are still ahead. But I think as consumers of video games, we have to, stay vigilant and, push back on developers whenever they make these terrible decisions. And I think the gaming community in general, way bigger than the community that I'm talking to, community that's listening to this, will have influence over. But we just have to, do our best to, I guess, vote with our wallets whenever these BS games come out. And we've not done a great job in that sometimes, right? Like Diablo Immortal, mobile games, we're showing these developers that we will swipe our credit cards at any chance we can to see a benefit, right? And so I think that we just have to hope both that, the gaming community will stay vigilant with that stuff, but also that there's going to be developers out there that prefer making games that benefit the gaming community and that they love and that they're passionate about over making their investors and their board of directors more money. So I think the best games are ahead, and we're just going to have to see. We're just going to have to see.
I just think the best games are not going to be coming from the biggest studios. I think the best games and the innovation is going to come from small, young, excited, passionate people, and not people that have to be beholden to stakeholders.
We do need more passionate people developing video games. I mean, yeah. Someone's got to make them, right? And I do not want to be a developer. I do not envy developers. I think they are doing literally God's work out there. And I feel for developers who are gathering a paycheck at a gaming company that they hate so that they can build their portfolio, so they can go build the game they love and want to make one day. Because as someone who worked in film, that is exactly what I was trying to do, and I didn't end up making it. I ended up getting out of the industry. But I wanted to make movies, direct movies, and I never made it. So Godspeed to anyone who makes video games out there, I guess is what I'm saying. But anyways, that's the end of the episode. Thank you guys. If you guys are still listening, thank you guys so much for watching. We appreciate you. We will be live again. Well, not live, but our next podcast will be again next Saturday. So thank you guys so much for joining. If you love the podcast, make sure to subscribe. Check us out on Twitch. We both stream nearly every day. We make content. Our links are going to be in the description on the channel. You'll be able to find them. But Mike, thanks for joining me, man. As always, I appreciate you. And this is Desync Podcast. We're signing off. See, I don't know why.
Later. We'll figure out how to end these things at some point. We'll figure out how to start them and end them.
Signing off.